You are now listening to the Hunter's Advantage podcast. We preserve the history and sport of hunting through curious conversation and action-packed hunts, as well as offering you tips and strategy for more successful hunts. So, hey everybody, welcome back to the Hunter's Advantage podcast, episode number 151. I'm joined by Jake _ Gaylord in the limited edition burnt orange. I guess you could say that is, or is that Go Pokes orange? Hunter's Advantage.
It's more of a Texas orange, but we're not going to say those nasty words.
It's not America's brightest orange.
That is true.
Maybe we'll have to get an Oklahoma State hat.
Well, I'm still going to wear this like any OSU games if I ever go back to Stillwater.
Unless they're playing Texas.
10 years. Unless they're playing Texas, and then I'd be confused.
Yeah, well, it is mid-April. Jake and I are very novice turkey hunters, so we don't have a lot to talk about in the way of turkey. If you enjoy that kind of stuff, go check out the last episode that we did talking about a recent turkey hunt. But other than that,
don't know much, but you did get it done.
Did get it done, but don't know much. That's probably the motto for us and hunting turkeys. This is not a turkey hunting podcast. So with that being said, it's this time of the year where the deer have dropped their horns. Most of them have been picked up, at least the ones that you can find on the ground. And people are, if you're not one of those folks that loves hunting gobblers, you're already thinking about hunting big game again, whether that's deer or antelope or mule deer. And if you're one of those people, that makes you one of us. So welcome. We were talking. What'd you say?
I said, welcome.
Hello. Welcome. So with that being said, we wanted to do a fun, more kind of off the wall episode. And what we're going to be doing is ranking our favorite species to hunt, regardless of whether we've hunted them or have not hunted them. And I was going to let you introduce that topic, Jake, but I think it really is that simple.
Yeah, no, I mean, you were on a roll, so I wasn't going to interrupt.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to have 5 apiece, and Jake and I are going to go through them. We'll go from 1 to 5 on our favorite species to hunt. Keep in mind that some of these we're going to have experience with, and then some of them we're not going to know our head from our butt about it, but they just sound super cool to hunt. So
we will specify that, but just from our lingo and not and lack of knowledge on those, you'll probably figure out really quick which ones we have hunted and have not. So
I have extensive big game or big horned sheep hunting experience. You guys will know by my lingo. So, Jake, if you had to pick one species, this is basically your favorite species to hunt. And what you're saying here is if there was an apocalypse and you could only hunt one species the rest of your life, this would be your one. Which one's that going to be?
If I was to save one big game species,
yeah,
and let all the other ones go extinct, it would have to be the whitetail. Now, the reason being is because we talked about this on, I think, the last podcast we did, and then just throughout our lives on the phone. It feels like you get most, like, what makes you tick is what you grew up hunting, right? And for us, it was mainly whitetail. And so with that being said, like, that's kind of what we grew into, like, within the outdoors. And so it just turned out to be at least my favorite thing to hunt. So easily that would probably take number 1 on my spot. What about you?
I'm basic. I would agree. I think for a similar reason, one, that is what we grew up hunting. It's naturally instilled in, I love to chase whitetail. If I went a fall without chasing whitetail, I wouldn't feel like myself. I'd be like, dude, what the frick is the purpose of life? Like, why am I doing this? But one thing I will say I love about whitetail that I think is very unique to whitetail is they have such a large range across the country, and you can spend your entire life hunting a whitetail in a different state, different topography, different environment, and still probably not hunt everywhere you want to. I mean, think about it. You can hunt all the way from Maine to Florida to Colorado and everything in between and hunt whitetail. And like, that's what we've been doing in college and then post-college is let's pick a state every year to go out of state and hunt whitetail. Like we weren't even thinking about other species. We were like, I just want to kill another buck in a different state. And I think that's unique to the whitetail deer, and I think that is one of the things that makes them encapsulating is you can do it everywhere besides the West, pretty much.
I mean, that is a good point because, like, kind of like you said, like it varies from each state, and not only are they widespread, is what I think you were talking about, but also like they vary so much, like from body sizes to rack sizes to density. Like, for instance, Iowa is a state known for, it's supposed to be a 150 around every tree. Anyways, and then you get like places like Florida. We've never been to Florida yet, but from what Deadblood says from TikTok, he's one of our buddies on TikTok. It's not Iowa per se. It's not Oklahoma. Their racks are a little bit different. I'm not sure what the average score is down there, but I would think probably like 110 inches would be like a
good one.
Like our Pope and Young probably.
Probably smaller than that. I think it's worse.
You think so?
Yes. They're about the size of a Labrador Retriever down there.
We see. That's cool. That's cool, man.
It is cool. You see, if you were to take a Florida deer and put them next to an Iowa deer, you're like, those are barely the same thing. Like,
right. Really. But with that being said, you come to Oklahoma, and depending on which region of the state you go to, they could have the same body size. I would think probably the same body size, but yet the racks are different too. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because Justin's deer he killed, it was like probably, I don't know, maybe 100 pounds, maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say like 110.
110, yeah. And that thing had 169-inch rack on it.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, whitetail are incredible. And I think if you care anything about being a woodsman and like gaining your woodsmanship, it is a lifetime pursuit to pursue mature whitetails, because if you ever cross a bridge, there's another one on the other side to cross. Like it's like being in the sandhills in Nebraska. You cross one and you look over, there's 3 dozen more. So if you get tired of hunting them in the Midwest, it's like, I'm going to go to the South, or I'm going to go to the Northeast. And it's just, I think that's what keeps me entranced with them. And then another thing about whitetail, and this probably isn't unique to them, is I love how no 2 racks are ever the same, ever.
That's pretty good too. Yeah.
Each deer is completely different. Every deer wants to be an 8-point. The average one.
You say that, but I guarantee you, almost every deer that I've had an encounter with seems like they're missing eye guards. So I'm just saying, like, they might be different, but damn it, they all have that in common. At least for me.
Me too. Me too. And if they did have eye guards, when I kill them, they only have one left, or both. I mean, very, very rarely do they have both. But I think that's what keeps me coming back. Just the ability to hunt them, the amount of public land there is, and the different environments that you can chase them in. And I don't know. I'm attempting to do the super slam, but I would say, and I don't have enough experience to say this, but I don't think there's many more beautiful sights than an arrow running double lung through a whitetail. That one's a hard one to beat.
Yeah, I'm waiting. Yeah. Okay, so I think we've scratched that itch enough on number 1. What would be your number 2? Now, granted, this is have hunted or have not hunted.
Number 2, I have to stick on the vein of have hunted, but I think this is probably also going to be yours. I think number 3 is where we're going to start to differ. But okay. Number 2 for me right now would be the antelope or pronghorn or speed goat. What else are they called? They got a lot of names. And I believe it was it 2017 when we went pronghorn hunting?
Oh, don't get me lying. It's probably somewhere around there. No, it might have been 2018.
Okay. Well, Jake and I went hunting pronghorn in the Oklahoma Panhandle, which there's very few pronghorn in Oklahoma, but there are some. When you think of pronghorn, you usually think like Colorado, Wyoming, New Mexico, some of these western states. But hunting pronghorn in our home state was pretty freaking awesome. But it was also our first experience walking into a western spot and stalk style of hunting with a bow, because we'd always hunted out of tree stands. And that first stalk that I went on, even though it was unsuccessful, I was like, this is incredible. Right. I love hunting pronghorn with a bow. They have one thing I really enjoy about them is they have this personality where it's almost like they're okay with you invading a certain level of their space. And that being, it's almost like they let you get to a certain distance away from them. And then they have a bubble that if you intrude inside that bubble, then they're not okay with it. But I think it's so cool to be able to see an animal in a very flat environment where the grass is literally 4, 5, 6 inches tall, and you can still spot and stalk within bow range and try to shoot one.
Yeah, the only thing to hide behind is like a yucca bush.
Dude, yucca bush. Do you remember when I took my quiver off when we were hunting pronghorn? And this is like just when we had just got Onyx, and I left it back on a stalk like 200 yards behind us. We got into like 75 yards on this good pronghorn. I mean,
it
was a good one. I mean, a good one. And we got to 75 yards. Of course, Jake and I's max yardage was like 50. Like I had like a 4-pin sight, and I think you probably did too. And I remember that thing standing at 75. I'm just like, man, it's 25 yards out of range. And they ran off. But after that, I couldn't find my quiver, and we spent like 30 minutes trying to find it because I didn't mark it or anything. That was funny. But number 2 for me would definitely be antelope. I love chasing speed goats. We actually did kill some in 2019. We killed 4, 2 does a piece. So we have some experience with them. We hunted and killed them, just not a buck yet.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because like our number 1 would be whitetails, and when you think of whitetails, like that's like the most resilient. Like you could double lung them, and it's just like I may not find it, but we came to find out, and with pronghorn, it's complete opposite, right? You can be 2 miles away from a deer, and if they wind you or see you or anything like that, they're immediately on alert and probably going to get out and head to the next county. And kind of like what you were saying with pronghorn, like they have the bubble, and so you can be 400 or 500 yards away from them, and every single one of them in that little group can be sitting there watching you, but they'll be completely fine with you as long as you're not in that bubble, you're not walking towards them or doing anything stupid, like they're fine with you. And so they're opposite on that way.
So antelope's your second one.
For sure.
It's hard not to love them. They're pretty freaking cool.
There's just something about them, man. Not having got it done with the bow yet, that's my next like ungulate that's not a whitetail that I want to take down for sure.
The Hunter's Advantage podcast is powered by Out on a Limb Manufacturing. Out on a Limb is a family-owned company based right here in Oklahoma that makes tree stands, saddle platforms, climbing sticks, and so much more.
Christian, I have a quick question.
What's that?
What bites down harder, a hippo or an alligator?
No idea.
It's a trick question. The Ridge Runner 2.0 bites harder than both of them. But all jokes aside, we use these products all across the land on public or private. These help us get into any tree we want and hunt where the deer actually are.
Most men go to the grocery store for their meat, but these products help you go to God's grocery store. I have used the Out on a Limb Ridge Runner 2.0 and the Shakar sticks for the last few years hunting public land bucks, and I've actually shot several bucks out of this setup. If you want to support the podcast and get some Out on a Limb equipment, make sure to go to outonalimbmfg.com and use code HNTA10 for 10% off at checkout. Once again, if you want to support the podcast, go to outonalimbmfg.com and use code HNTA10 at checkout for 10% off. Now let's get back to the podcast. Yeah, they're cool. When you go up to them though, it's like they have this finely coarse, like remember their hair when we killed those ones?
You would like rip it out with your fingers. Yeah.
So it was like a completely different, I think it's hollow. I think that's what he was telling us. Like they have like hollow, and I don't know if that has something to do with like whether they're built for speed. I know they can run like 60 miles an hour, but dude, they're hollow.
Fast things look not fast.
Another thing that we were talking about with the guy that we went and hunted with is, I think one of the reasons that they're considered so soft and kind of easy to kill from like if you put a bullet or an arrow into them is when they run so fast that when you shoot them, I think it pumps blood at a lot faster rate than like a normal animal would running off. I think I heard that. Maybe that's not true, but maybe that is true.
It kind of, And the bro science logic, that kind of makes sense because they can run so fast and for so long. You would think they'd have
insane cardio,
oxygen count, or so. I don't know.
I don't either, but that sounds right. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, antelopes are pretty neat. I like them. Moving on to number 3, we'll switch it up a little bit. What's your third favorite species to go after? We're starting to get into the territory where we haven't hunted very many species.
Yeah, after that big long list, we're finally getting into some things we haven't hunted. Now, just to say, like the other well-known thing that we have hunted is turkey, but I guarantee you that might not even make my top 5 list, to be honest. Just because turkey that ain't it, Chief. But my number 3, I think, if I were to pick something to hunt, I think it would be mule deer. I think that's my number 3 because they're like somewhat resemble my number 1 spot, but they're bigger, and I heard they're a little bit more dumb, and maybe dumb ain't the right word. They're a little bit more tolerant of people, maybe, or curious, and they have a bigger rack, so that's always cool. So I think that would be my number 3. And plus, a lot of times for the most part, you spot and stalk mule deer. So that would be another reason.
Yeah, that spot and stalk style for pure just enjoyment is very hard to beat. So thinking about that, it's like, I'd probably like hunting a jackrabbit if you could spot and stalk it.
A jackalope.
Yeah, a jackalope. But I think muley are super cool. I don't think they're my number 3, but I'm going to save my comments on muley because they're definitely going to make the top 5. My number 3 would probably be something that could kill you. And it's something that's going to happen very soon for me, thankfully. And I just saw the money deducted on my bank account, so I pray to God I can go. Black bear for me, which is honestly something you could hunt in Oklahoma. I just don't have the connections. And I know there's not a ton of them. I looked at the harvest last year and it was like under 100 in the entire state. Oh, it's very low.
Did they say how many tags were sold?
No, I didn't look. There might have been a thing about that, but it was very low. There's a very low harvest. They're there, but it's also.
We know they're there. We have trail cam pics.
Yeah, I got some pictures. So, no, I'm going up to Saskatchewan, and actually north of Saskatoon, sorry, which is very in the middle of BFE and hunting black bear. I think there is something just different about hunting something that could kill you, and that excites me. So
how big of a black bear are up there? Like, obviously it's Canada, so I would think a lot bigger than like what Oklahoma has.
Yeah, so you see people killing oak bears in Oklahoma, and I think there definitely are some big ones because we've got some pictures of some big ones. But I would say a good black bear in Oklahoma might be 250. I think a really big one would be like 300. I was talking to the outfitter in Canada today, and I think I asked her that, and I was like, what's the average size black bear in Canada? Because it's got to be big, just the more north you go, the bigger bodied things get in general.
Everything.
Yeah. And she was like, she's I think she's European, like Norwegian or something. She has this funny accent. But
Norwegian Canadian?
Oh, no, she's not from Canada. Yeah.
Right. But you would think she'd kind of pick up on that accent after living there.
Hey, you think, hey?
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But no, she was like 450, 500 pounds is like an average black hair. I was like 500 pounds.
So something that Khabib probably couldn't wrestle.
I'd be a good match for Khabib.
Dang, dude.
So that's a big, big black bear. And I look forward to that because if I'm going to get to hunt one and I'm going to have to travel to do it, I want it to be a big one. And
dude, that's like, imagine my uncle being on all fours. That's what that thing would look like.
God.
that's nuts. That's nuts. That's a big old boy.
Yeah, 500. I mean, what if they start coming
that's
in?
Terrifying.
And they're like, you know what? I'm going to get in the tree with you. I've decided it.
Well, you've seen those videos like on Facebook or TikTok or something where like they were kind of smaller bears, but
usually
they were
cubs,
like shimmying up the tree with that hunter, and the dude's like hitting it with the broadhead side of his arrow, and like get. If one of those things came up there, now granted, you're going to be by yourself, and I don't think you're going to take a firearm with you. I don't think you're allowed to, are you?
You have to declare it if you bring it over the border, and I don't plan on doing that.
Okay, well, then with that being said, you have a bow, so what if for some reason that thing just decides to climb that tree really quick?
I'm hitting a flying arm bar.
DDT off the top rope.
Oh, dude. Ric Flair, Rey Mysterio. I'm going to pull out a WWE move. Now, I don't know. We had this conversation. I think I had this conversation with you the other day, but I was walking through Lauren through all the animals on the Super Slam. And she's like, what do you mean there's 4 species of bear that you have to shoot to complete the Super Slam? I was like, yeah. She's like, what are they? It's like black bear, grizzly, brown bear, polar bear. You're going to hunt those on the ground because you're going to kill like a grizzly typically on the ground and a polar bear on the ground.
You almost have to. I don't know any trees there.
No. And she was just like, why would you do that? And I was like, well, Cam Haines has a good quote about it. He's like, I mean, if they kill me while I'm trying to kill them, fair play. That's your intentions when you're going in to kill the animal. If they kill you while you're trying to kill them, I guess that's just that's part of it. It's easy to say until one's like,
right. Yeah. Dude, there ain't no way, but hey, that's a circle of life, homeboy.
Yeah. I'm excited. I think I'll be good on black bear. I don't think I'll get mauled by one, but if not, I have life insurance. But anywho, what's your number 4?
Numero quattro, dude. I don't know.
Starting to run out of storage in your head.
1 gigabyte storage up there, but I want to default to elk just because that's something that might be attainable for me to hunt eventually. And we've already somewhat hunted them. You could call that, but I just call it like a donation to Colorado and a long drive for a camping trip.
Yeah, good.
I don't know. I want to have to go elk for number 4 because that's like the first thing that's popping into my mind.
When you think of things that would be fun to shoot with a bow, it's very hard to top an elk. It's got massive horns. They scream like a turkey. Like,
dude,
aspect of it.
I haven't tried elk that I've shot or anyone else shot, but I have tried like an elk tomahawk. That's what it is. One of the tomahawk steaks, but it's from an elk. And dude, that thing, I think it blows deer out of the water. Now, granted, a lot of the deer we shoot don't have much fat on them, but let me tell you, there's something different about it.
Yeah, I think if you're a hardcore turkey hunter and you do hunt big game too, elk is probably your number 1 for sure. Like, I think the locating and the calling aspect of it is really cool, and just the pure size and ferocity that they bugle at. Like, I feel like it shakes my phone sometimes when I'm watching the videos. I couldn't imagine being 30 yards and one's just, man, that'd be awesome.
So is that your number 4 as well?
No.
What's your number 4?
Mule deer.
Mule deer? Okay.
Yeah, I really.
What's that?
Similar to you on the whitetail thing, like muleys are incredible. I don't know why, but I like that their ears are huge. It's weird, right? Yeah. But dude, their ears are like 6 or 7 inches long on each side. Like, if you shoot a muley that's outside of his ears, dude, he's gonna be like a 20-inch spread. Like, that's true. That's a big muley. But I like the. It's kind of the same reason that I like the pronghorn, the style that they are hunted in. And I like that they're just a bigger version of a whitetail in a very completely different habitat in a completely different bow hunting style. And I think it's hard to beat spot and stalk for just being satisfied and enjoying the hunt and being able to hunt an animal that is just like a whitetail and looks in some ways, but then they're not in some ways. Like, they don't have high guards. That's pretty weird. They often have forks. I think forks and splits are incredible. Cool. Just the fact that they're just an overall bigger animal, body size, antlers, all of it. And I love the places that they live, wide open terrain. I know there's a lot of areas where they're not and stuff like that too, but it's almost like being able to hunt a whitetail in a completely different style. And that's exciting to me.
What's like an equivalent to like 150-inch whitetail on a mule deer?
A muley?
Yeah.
Probably 170.
You think so?
Yeah, because one of the guys I was talking with in Nebraska about hunting a muley, I was like, what's an average muley? He said, oh, we won't go after one unless it's 140 or better. I was like, what? Dude, if I have 140 on camera for whitetail,
Dude,
I'm devoting my season to hunting it.
That's what I'm saying.
So
that's freaking nuts.
It wouldn't be out of the ordinary to shoot a 170-inch muley.
Right.
I would consider that like a 150-inch whitetail.
That's insane. Yeah, that'd be really good. So that's number 4. We'll let you take it away with number 5.
5. Elk would be my 5. Dude, you can't, if you like hunting big game animals, you cannot say that elk is not in your top 5. The vocalization, the location they live in. How big they are? Yeah, how big they are. When you think big game hunting in the West, you think elk. Busting it on a hunt, packing out. I don't know. When somebody goes out on public land and kills an elk, I'm like, respect. We know a few folks have done that, and having tried it for a very brief period of time several years ago, I have a lot of respect for people that I can get in there and get it done on an elk with a bow. Like, that's very, very cool. And I just think they're beautiful. You better have high ceilings though if you plan on shooting one.
Elk would be like one of those things which, if you listen to any elk hunting podcast or anything like that, then you probably already heard this discussion before. But it's like, imagine the pack out. Imagine the pack out on one of those things, because we have trouble sometimes getting out whitetail on some of our public land spots because, it could be a mile and a half away from the truck. And the only way to get it out is by carrying it. Now, granted, we're going to smarten up eventually sometime in our lives and get a game cart, but we haven't did that yet. But with that being said, like when you're elk hunting, there's too many hills and stuff to really make a game cart even useful in those scenarios too. So the way we're doing it is kind of somewhat how you would, I guess, kind of pack out an elk. Like, we don't necessarily cut it up, but you physically carry all that stuff on your shoulders. But I just couldn't imagine like shooting one midday and then not getting back to the truck until like 3 a.m. You're completely done. And
then saying, oh, by the way, we got 2 more trips to get this.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know, but maybe that's one of the times we can be like, hey, I broke my leg. I'm stuck on the side of the mountain. And then
SOS.
It's just like, just kidding.
You just throw quarters in.
Yeah. Tie the stroke to the bottom.
I bet that meat tastes good when you freaking have sweat board like that. That's on a completely different level. That'd be like if someone wanted elk meat from me, but I knew they weren't going to eat it. Don't take this unless you're going to eat it.
Yeah.
Because
no, I think my number 5, and this is completely like, hopefully this is attainable in my lifetime. Because if it actually is, then it might be higher on my list, to be honest. But just for the sake of, it probably not being in the near future anytime soon, dude, a moose. I want to shoot a moose, dude. Like, you just see 2 barn doors just swinging on freaking, I don't even know how many pound animal, and you just see that rack just stomping through there, and you're just like, dude, yes, that's what I want to do. Especially if you watch Crispy's video.
That was incredible.
You ever seen that one? That was a very good video, and like that's how I want to do it.
A moose would be awesome. It literally is like a small tractor coming at you with a hide thrown over it.
Dude, that'd be spooky. I think that might be more spooky than like maybe not a grizzly bear, because I feel like your mind can't comprehend like the power that a grizzly has. But I don't know. Minus sharp teeth, I think a moose might be just as dangerous.
Well, dude, if you watch any of the meat eater videos, they're in there. Every one of their intros is that moose like trying to attack. I think it's either Giannis or Steven. And it's like it's sprinting at them. I'm like, dude, he basically has like a big bucket scoop on the front of his head. He could pick you up and just launch you.
One stomp and you're ripped in half.
I love that terrain though in Alaska and where a lot of those hunts happen. And I'm just like, dude, like being able to get up and glass, and they spend a lot of their day glassing until they find one that is mature and worth killing. And I feel like I'd really enjoy that. But it's also they're in super wet climates. Like half the time they're just like hunkered down in the rain. Like I think that would be very mentally taxing, which would be very I don't know, it'd be very rewarding if you were out there getting rained on. Think about the travel to even get there. That makes it even sweeter. Like the bush plane and getting dropped off.
You pay all this money and you spend all this time figuring out the logistics part of it, and then once you get there, like let's say you have a week and it rains for 3 days and you're hunkered up. Oh. It's just like, could you imagine? Half your trip, you're staying in your tent. That would suck.
Yeah, that would really suck. I mean, I think that's the reality when you go to like Alaska and stuff. Is I watched so many hunts and it seems like they spend so much hours just trying to get out of the weather. That's part of it. That's what I'm saying though. You have to be so mentally in the presence to complete something like that. I mean, it would be, I think on Chris's hunt, he killed him like day 9 or day 10 or something like that. And I was like, dude, imagine like every single day. Me, even in my whitetail mindset, is like every day that passes, I'm like, is it going to happen? It's getting less likely. Is it like after day 3 building up, and then after day 3, it's like less likely. In my mind. Yeah. That's not always true.
No. Well, have you heard, I don't know who said it. It might have been, who's the dude? Ted Nugent. I think he said this where he was like, any hunt that you go on that's shorter than 3 days is kind of just pure luck. And he said after you being in the woods for 3 days, your mind starts to adapt and kind of get into the same mindset and the same rhythm as the woods you're hunting, right? And so that's kind of like, I don't know, it's like a give and a take, because you're there for 3 days and you're getting your butt beat, and you also have that worry like, hey, I'm gonna have to leave here soon. But in the same mindset, if what Ted actually says is true, that's just now, whenever that doubt starts to sink in, that's just now when your mind is going on like starting to play the same tune as the woods is, if that makes sense. And so it's like one side of it is doubt, but the other side of it, and I would think subconsciously, that's when the hunt actually begins.
I think that's definitely true, because it's not true that the hunt is getting worse. In your mind, you're starting to get greedy and scarce. Like it's right. The hunting's actually getting better. You're starting to be like, am I going to get it done? Like it's like a confidence issue, or and I can say that's exactly how it is, especially turkey hunting. We were in Mississippi, and Jake and I like could not get on a bird for 3 days. Like we just, you hear them and you're trying to find out exactly where they are and what topography they're using and all this stuff. And then after day 3, there was not a single day where we didn't have a bird in shooting range. And it was just, okay, you start to get into it. It's not like I can't do no wrong. That's definitely not the situation, but you just learn and adapt. And if you stay after it and you're persistent, it's like, I'm going to get one. The only thing stopping me from getting one is time, and that goes with antelope. Yeah. I mean, that goes with pretty much anything.
But the longer you're there, especially those 2 days, like you're just collecting puzzle pieces. Oh, this one fits here. Oh, this one fits here. And then, I mean, it makes sense because day 3, and then you're like, okay, I collected these puzzle pieces. This is what the picture looks like so far. And let's try it. And then you start having like ideas where it's just like, okay, we actually might get it done now because of this.
Mm-hmm. That's 100% true. That is 100% true. Persistence. But because a lot of people on day 3 are going to be like, dude, it's not going to happen. I'm going to waste my time. Better not get tired. Wait, what did you say?
I said, or starts to sleep in, and I said, been there, done that.
Done that a time or two. Yeah. That's very true. I think persistence is the name of the game. Hopefully, if we're able to stay persistent and go chase one of these every few years, we'll be able to knock out our top 5. I think we've got a heck of a lot better chance of knocking out your top 4 than your 5th. The moose is going to be that's going to be a daunting.
That's kind of why I put it on number 5, because that's something I do want to hunt. But it ain't going to happen anytime soon. But you already said your 5th, right? Yeah, your 5th was elk.
Yep.
So with that being said, I want to put you on something real quick.
Yep.
Top 5 fish to catch. Rapid fire.
One, Probably a big large. Hard to beat it. Grew up grew up catching largemouth. Trout are definitely up there. Small gear. Love catching them on light line. Anything like that is really fun. 3, probably crappie. I like catching crappie because they're on light line as well. Same reason I like catching trout. Like, it's a fight. And a 3-pound or 2-pound crappie is a beast, and they taste good.
It's a keeper.
Like, it's great eating. Yeah, it's a keeper. And number 4 would probably be catfish, just because, one, I do like catching them on a rod and reel, but the last 2 summers I got to do some noodling, and it's pretty fun sticking your hand in a hole, and it's a little sketchy too, but it's definitely fun. And
that
5
reminds me. Oh, go ahead. No,
5 would probably be. I'm trying to think what else I even fish for.
So you had largemouth, you had trout, you had crappie, you had catfish, and then
sunfish, panfish, perch.
Just catching perch. No, what I was going to say about the noodling was, do you remember when we were back at the creek behind my mom's house, and we tried to noodle in 6 inches of water, and there's this big old hole, and Christian put his hand in there to try to noodle a catfish, and of course at that creek, there could have been a freaking big old snapping turtle. There could have been, snakes, whole din of snakes. He sticks his hand in the hole, and then out the top, probably 2 feet above the hole he put his arm in, there's another hole. And when he did that, out shot a beaver out the top hole. And he was like, oh my God. And of course, we didn't know that back then because we were young and stupid. I mean, granted, all we are now is just a little bit older and still stupid, but that beaver could have tore you up.
I would have hit him with a left hook, Mike Tyson.
Yeah, okay.
Dude, beavers are mean. I'd be no match for a beaver in the water. Especially that Louisville slugger they got attached to the back of their hips. That tail.
Joke.
The what? What would your top 5 fish be as we're wrapping it up?
Man, so mine's going to be a little bit different. Number 1 is going to be trout. And I think I've caught a brown trout before, but for the most part, it's just been rainbow trout. So number 1 would be trout. Number 2 would be largemouth. I think number 3 would be, what do people call it? I call it sand bass, but other people call it white bass or whatever.
Yeah, white bass is what they're called technically.
So yeah, so I call it sand bass. And then 4 would be catfish. It doesn't matter what kind. And then I think 5th, just because kind of running out of options, I think gar fishing is fun. And since we figured out a way to do that, because growing up fishing creeks and stuff, if you try to bass fish at all, you'd sooner or later get a spinner or a crankbait lost because one of those long nosed gar would just come up, bite it, and they have razor sharp teeth, bony mouth, so you can't really hook them unless they swallow it. So most of the time you end up losing a bait. But we figured out that if you got a steel leader about 12 inches long and you put some bait or something tucked in with a small hook, you let them take it, and then you set the hook. That's how you catch them. And they're pretty fun to fight because they're pretty powerful. They really are. They get going. They're pretty aerodynamic, if that even matters. But they fight really hard. So I think that would be my 5th.
It's a good list. That's a good list. Maybe we should create Fisher's Advantage. Maybe people want to hear about fishing.
I'm telling you, dude. I'm gonna be doing a lot of fishing. Heck, there might be a series on here called Jigging with Jake or something. I don't know, but
new pod.
I'm gonna be doing some fishing this summer. That's for sure.
I'll be looking out for the videos. Well, that's the end of our top 5, ranking our top 5 species to hunt. I don't know. Maybe I get back after this black bear hunt and it goes down on my list, or maybe it goes to number 1 on my list, and I have no idea. But thanks for listening to the episode. If you guys want some video content, if you're not watching the video version of this podcast, it's available on YouTube, just Hunter's Advantage Podcast. Go check it out there. And if you want some other cool non-hunting content, it's just kind of entertainment and us having fun, you can go check out the Total Archery Challenge videos that we have. We had 3 of those out that we shot the Broken Bow shoot in Oklahoma, and those videos are produced. As always, please leave us a rating and review if you enjoyed the show, if you got any value from it, if you laughed, if you took anything away from it. please make sure to share the show. That's how we grow, and leave us a rating and review. And we appreciate you guys. With that, we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Jesus loves you.
Thank you guys so much for checking out the Hunter's Advantage podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to the podcast. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you in the next episode.